Welcome back to Echo English, a place where stories inspire confidence, growth, and transformation. Today's story is not about a rich man, a celebrity, or a genius. It is about an ordinary teacher, a man who was respected for his knowledge but silently judged because he could not speak English fluently. He faced humiliation, self doubt, and fear, but instead of giving up, he made one decision that changed his life forever. This is the powerful story of a teacher who became a student again and proved that it is never too late to learn, grow, and transform yourself. So sit back, listen carefully, and maybe somewhere in this story you will find a part of yourself too. The teacher who was mocked for his English. In a small village surrounded by dusty roads and silent dreams, there lived a school teacher named Arjun. Every morning he walked to school carrying a faded brown bag filled with books, chalk pieces, and responsibilities heavier than his salary. He taught history to children who barely believed education could change their lives. But deep inside, Arjun carried a secret pain nobody understood. He was afraid of English. Not because he hated the language, but because the world treated him differently whenever he failed to speak it. One day, during a district level teachers' meeting, officers from the city visited his school. All the teachers were asked to introduce themselves in English. When Arjun's turn came, his hands trembled, sweat rolled down his forehead, his throat became dry. Good morning, myself Arjun. I am teaching history from last 7 years. Some teachers giggled softly, one officer smirked. Another interrupted him and said, "You are a teacher, right? Your English should at least be basic." The room burst into uncomfortable laughter. At that moment, Arjun felt smaller than dust. That night, he couldn't sleep. He stared at the cracked ceiling of his tiny house while those words echoed again and again inside his mind. Your English should at least be basic. For the first time in his life, he questioned his worth as a teacher. The next morning, Arjun entered his classroom pretending everything was normal, but something inside him had changed. Every time he saw English words in textbook, he felt fear. Whenever students asked the meaning of a difficult English sentence, he avoided eye contact. He began realizing something painful. In society, knowledge was respected, but English was worshipped. A person could be intelligent, kind, hardworking, and talented, but if they couldn't speak English confidently, people often treated them as less important. That truth broke him. One evening, while returning home, he saw one of his former students working at a supermarket in the city. The boy treated him warmly and started speaking fluent English with foreign customers. Arjun was shocked. This was the same boy who once failed exams repeatedly. Before leaving, the student smiled and said, "Sir, learning English changed my confidence. It did not change my intelligence, it changed how the world listened to me." Those words hit Arjun deeply. That night, instead of sleeping, he made a decision that would transform his life forever. At the age of 42, he became a student again. Learning English at that age was not easy. Children learn without fear, adults learn with embarrassment. Arjun bought an old English grammar book from a roadside shop. Every night after school, he sat under a dim yellow bulb and practiced simple sentences. "This is a pen. I am going to school. How are you?" Sentences that looked childish to others became mountains for him. Sometimes he mispronounced words so badly that even he laughed at himself. Sometimes he forgot basic grammar after studying for hours. Sometimes frustration made him want to quit completely, but pain can become power when humiliation burns deep enough. So he continued. He started listening to English news channels even though he understood almost nothing. He repeated words again and again in front of a broken mirror. He spoke to himself while walking. He wrote 10 new words daily in a notebook. People mocked him. Some villagers laughed and said at this age he wanted to become a foreigner. Some fellow teachers joked about his pronunciation behind his back. But Arjun had understood something important. People laugh at beginners because they never had the courage to begin themselves. Months passed. Slowly, English stopped looking like a monster. One day during class, a student asked a question in English. Normally, Arjun would avoid answering, but this time he replied. Slowly, brokenly, imperfectly, but confidently. The class became silent. For the first time, his students saw not just a teacher but a fighter. Arjun started introducing English speaking hour in school. He encouraged students not to fear mistakes. He told them wrong English is better than silent fear. That sentence changed the atmosphere of the classroom. Students who once stayed quiet began trying. They laughed, failed, corrected themselves, and improved together. The fear started disappearing. Years later, that small village school became known for producing confident English speakers despite having limited resources. But the biggest transformation was not in the school, it was inside Arjun. Because English did not just teach him words, it taught him courage. One day, Arjun was invited again to another district level teachers' meeting. This time, a young officer asked him to deliver a short speech in English about rural education. Years earlier, that same situation had humiliated him, but now he stood calmly on the stage. His pronunciation was not perfect. His grammar still had small mistakes, but his confidence was unshakable. He spoke about dreams, education, fear, and courage. And when he finished, the entire hall stood up and applauded. Not because his English sounded foreign, but because his journey sounded human. Many people think learning English is only about language, but sometimes it is about dignity, about confidence, about finally expressing the intelligence that was trapped inside silence for years. Never be ashamed of learning slowly, never feel small for making mistakes, and never believe it is too late to grow. Because the day you stop fearing embarrassment is the day your real transformation begins. If this story touched your heart and reminded you that it is never too late to learn, then subscribe to the channel and join our journey of growth, confidence, and transformation through powerful stories and life changing lessons. Your support motivates us to create more meaningful content for you every week.